Doing something again, Marty. Thank you for that. Well, consumer choice is everything, and with so much choice, it's never been more important to keep an eye on trends to ensure Aussie beef remains relevant and on plates. For more on this, I'm joined by Michael Rogers, Teys General Manager of Corporate Industry Affairs, and Mark Ellison, Group Manager of Learning and Development. Guys, thank you for being here. First up, Mark, it was humble beginnings.
Very humble beginnings, yeah. So Teys started back in 1946 when my grandfather and his three brothers just opened a butcher shop in Brisbane's Woolloongabba. And over the years, well, nearly 8 decades now, it's grown to be a significant beef processor and exporter within Australia. You know, we partner with over 7,000 cattle producers to make sure that we can be continuing to put beef on the plate, not only in Australia but around the world.
How much do consumer trends impact what you do?
A lot. As a business, we have to be consumer focused and very consumer centric. So, you know, if we don't understand what the consumers want, if we don't understand what they need, then we're not able to build brands or programs around satisfying those needs and wants of consumers. So it's absolutely critical that we stay abreast of that. And we do that in a variety of ways. We've got offices through Asia and in the US, and they give us feedback about market intel, but we also have our customers that are sometimes the go-between us and our consumers, who give us very clear lines of sight of what consumers are looking for.
So what are some of those latest trends?
Okay, so the top three, first one would be convenience, and that's very much around people's lives are busy. They don't have time to prepare food. So one thing we need to do is to make beef easy and accessible for them to prepare. So we have a value-added operation in Brisbane where we produce what we call centre of plate protein solutions, so the consumer can just come in, get home from work, busy day, heat that, add some veggies to it, and they're away. But it's also not just convenience within the product and the preparation. It's about smaller portion sizes to account for smaller families, singles, couples, but then also convenience in packaging. So is it easy to open and prepare? Can it go straight into the oven? Can it go straight into the microwave? Is it easy to dispose of?
We're a lazy bunch, aren't we?
We are, by circumstance, I think, more so than anything. The second big one would be around health. And beef, red meat, beef in particular, has copped a bit of a bum rap over health benefits, but to be honest, it's fairly misguided. It's the best source of protein, iron and zinc that you can come across. And the Australian dietary guidelines recommend 3 to 4 serves of lean beef a week, so to be part of your healthy diet. So it's about us trying to give consumers the permission to eat beef again, that it's okay, that it's safe. And our industry bodies, particularly MLA, do a great job of doing that with their campaigns as well. But as processors, it's up to us to continue that charge as well.
Michael, what about when it comes to sustainability?
Yeah, so we take a really broad view on sustainability, and Teys, as Mark's outlined, has been around a long time. And as a starting point, we work with a whole range of producers across the eastern seaboard. And so we take this view of sustainability that it's not just about emissions, it's about how we do business more broadly. So we've invested heavily in renewable energy and covering our wastewater ponds and invested into biogas. And so over the last 5 years in particular, we've made a number of strides forward on sustainability. And looking forward, it's about, to Mark's point, how do we meet consumer expectations, how do we do things for the planet, and how do we produce beef in the most sustainable way possible. So, but it's not only about emissions, it's about a workforce. So we employ 4,500 people. How do we support those people through their careers and support them in their training and their development? So, yeah, it's a really broad approach that we take as a business on sustainability, and we look forward to continuing that as we have been here at Beef this week.
In terms of, I guess, what you do when it comes to your partners and your suppliers, how do you approach that to, I suppose, help improve some of those consumer perceptions?
Yeah, it's a really important part of beef, as Mark has outlined, and there's a lot of focus on emissions, but environmental sustainability more broadly is a really key focus, particularly in the climate change discussions. And obviously producers have been on the land often a very long time and are custodians of that land. So it's about how do we bring back to the producer, including this week, on what consumers are expecting of us in the supply chain, and working with producers to both tell the story and find out how we can improve specific issues. So one is consumers and the public is very concerned around deforestation, and there's a perception that the beef sector may not perhaps be moving forward on deforestation and protecting the environment, but that's not backed up by the facts. And so how do we better understand those issues? How do we support producers? And then how do we communicate that back to customers in a way that's credible and that people can understand and engage with? So it's very much a partnership through the supply chain. It's ensuring that we take those issues forward, whether it's emissions or deforestation or animal welfare. They can be quite challenging, but
I was going to say they're a tough sell, aren't they?
They are a very tough sell, but there's great systems in Australia. We pride ourselves at Teys on managing those issues. So yeah, so there is a long way to go, work to do, but there's some good stories to tell.
Now, you guys have been in the marquee for the last few days. Firstly, how are the feet?
Yeah.
Sore.
Sore.
Very sore.
As long as it's the feet that are sore and not the heads.
Yeah, that's right.
And what are you hearing from producers on the ground?
We're getting a lot of interest, and within our marquee we run information seminars for producers, so we've tried to pick topics that we think will be useful for our producers. One particular one is around how can they, what can they do on farm to prevent dark cutting meat coming into the plant, and they find that very really valuable. So we've partnered with some great speakers, expert speakers, to come in and talk about that, and that's been one really big piece of interest. The other big piece of interest has been around our grasslands program, or our 100% grass-fed beef program, and how they can become involved in that.
Good. And for you?
Yeah, it's just great. I mean, the producers coming in often want to have the conversation around what's happening, what should they be looking for, how can they generate greater returns, and just tying back to sustainability, it's the challenge for all of us, right? So, you know, some firm conversations with producers around we're being asked to do all these different things, and how do we make that viable, and how do we make that work? So, yeah, as Mark has outlined, some very real conversations on producing, but also some great conversations on the future and how do we work together.
Certainly plenty of chats to be had.
There's been quite a bit of interest. Producers are really interested in where our product goes, which markets it goes to, which consumers does it go to, but equally, and possibly more so, our consumers are really interested in where the beef comes from, where the product comes from that they're consuming. And so they're really fascinated, and they've got this real great connectedness, or want a connectedness back to the producers. So part of what we try to facilitate is getting that supply chain connection between producers and consumers, and feeding back and forward through the supply chain so that each is knowledgeable about each other and understands each other. So,
Mark, Michael, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thanks, Andrea.
Well, we are off to a break, but afterwards, why you should care about your super